Welcome back viewers, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries and anyone with ears or other sound detection organs. Hope you enjoy. We are continuing with Going Native, written by Uncle Sealing. Going Native, Chapter 60. For something as huge as the space truck, Jessica was honestly expecting more noise. It was dropping slowly, a fat arrangement of cubes that would eventually be another floor for the hotel, with a tapered nose hanging off one side and the cylinders of engines hanging off the other. The whole arrangement looked to be the size of a football stadium and would barely fit on one of their two landing pads. The whole situation was just bizarre. When Jessica first ran here, sure that her life was over, she never would have guessed what the future had in store. After a long job interview, really more of an interrogation by Inspector Chelza and Commander REM, she was offered the position of facility coordinator. They needed someone who could run the hotel, take care of the housing needs for the security people, keep everything in budget, and generally serve as a buffer between Sammy and the Marine contingent for non-security purposes. Jessica wasn't technically qualified for all that, but it was such a unique position that anybody would have to figure it out as they went, and, well, she was available. Now she was part of a rapidly growing enterprise that was funded by Shilvati military contractors and seemed to be building low-tech telescopes and a resort. There was more going on that she didn't understand, but Jessica was just happy to keep her head down and make 10 times as much money as she was in Denver. Plus her boyfriend was just down the hall. With everything going, Jessica had really only been able to meet with Eskel for a quick dinner a couple of times, but they had been texting pretty much non-stop. The whole dynamic was refreshing. Every other boyfriend she ever had would have been pestering her for sex by now, but Eskel was willing to go at her pace. Or maybe she was going at his. As the dust blew around the huge spaceship and it settled onto the pad, Jessica couldn't help but grin. One of those boxes was hers. Her own apartment, to her exact design. An entire third floor of human-sized rooms was being added to her specifications. They had asked what she thought the facility needed, and when she gave them a list, they just nodded and signed off on it. Sammy, Ieng, and Commander REM actually listened to her. If it wasn't for the small tingle of danger that seemed to fill the air sometimes, the job would be amazing. Hell, even that just seemed to make it more fun. Ellarol watched with amusement as 5 women and one exceedingly pretty male swarmed Ieng, the young man vanishing under a sea of purple flesh. Merin closed the distance, joining in on the hugs with her in-laws. Security was everywhere, a small contingent chasing after both Sams as they ran giggling laps around their new spaceship. She felt a hand close around hers and had to look over and smile. Stace hadn't been having the best day, feeling a bit weak and panicked, but he was determined to stand out here in the cold and greet Ieng's family. She could also admit to feeling a surge of victory. Jelsai Chelza was there, too, but Stace wasn't holding her hand. She tried not to think about the fact that Stace's crutch was on the other side. He couldn't hold Jelsai's hand even if he wanted to. The wind picked up and Ellara couldn't help but shiver. It was what, 8C? Stace's hand left hers and she had a moment of confusion before she felt his arm wrap around her waist, slipping into her open coat. She took the opportunity to pull him tighter. It probably looked like she was protecting Stace and keeping him warm, but in reality the human was like a furnace against her. She took a moment to glance at Jelsai and grin. The investigator's smile back was pleasant and non-threatening, which just put her more on edge. Stace. Ellara. Her attention was directed to Merin, who was waving them over. She gave the other woman a nod, then glanced down at her human boyfriend. You ready? Stace's nod was soft and nervous, but he dutifully grabbed her hand again and the pair made their way towards the group. The group of Shilvati opened like a flower, the knot of family becoming a semicircle that could enclose the two of them. Anxiety gripped inside Ellara like a fist, but Ieng was there with a welcoming smile. Dad, Moms, these are Ellora and Stace. I'm sure you can figure out which one is which. That one little joke earned a few chuckles and broke any remaining tension. My name is Alice, and I'm Iing's father. He was the same height as Iing but much more slight, with a narrow frame and angular face. His clothing was neat and tidy despite the time spent in a cargo ship, and the line of gold rings down the length of his right ear glittered in the morning light. This is Rena, my first wife. He pointed to a woman with bright red hair, then continued down the line. Therese, Eniki, Aetka, and Jella. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. Ellora released Stace's hand and began to fist bump her way down the line while the human carefully swapped his crutch to his left so he could do the same. Now that introductions are made, Rena said, clapping her hands together in the chill air, let's get out of the cold. It's even worse than Iing described. Stace's laugh drew them up short. Believe me, this is a beautiful summer day compared to what Iing went through. It's true. Iing grinned. This is still unbearable, though. Let me show you your rooms. Rena smiled at her husband as he fussed with the human known as Stace. Alice was playing it up, of course. Seeing such an oddly feminine male was clearly setting off his paternal instincts. She was surprised to see that the interior agent had followed them back to Stace's living room once everyone was settled, staying close by and watching the interaction carefully. She decided to sidle up to the agent and introduce herself. Rena Elbruck, first wife to Alice. She held out a hand for a fist bump and the agent returned it with a nod. Jelsi Chelza. I'm with Stace. The woman smiled nervously. At least I'm working at it. Really? I heard he was. I mean, he was married too. Rena didn't know quite what to say. He hadn't gone out and said it, but it was obvious from all the messages he sent that Iing was enamored with this strange alien. Considering the human's history, it had been worrying. I think he just likes who he likes. It has gone well so far. Jelsi shrugged. Do you mind if I come with you on your shopping trip? I'd like to keep an eye on him. Of course I don't mind. Honestly, I'd like to spend more time catching up with Iing first, but Alice has a bug up his butt about fixing Stace. I was a bit worried about trying to keep watch over the two of them by myself. I just hadn't had a chance to ask anybody else to come. Despite his handicap, having Stace around is probably a good thing for security. The agent smirked. He is dedicated to keeping people safe. Perhaps a bit too much. That's what Iing said in his letters. I can't believe most of it. I mean, look at the guy. Rena gestured at him. The human noticed the motion and turned to her, sending a nervous smile her way before he went back to trying to deflect Alice's onslaught. Jelsi snorted back a laugh. The first time I met him, he was in the hospital. Missing an eye and a leg, one arm didn't work, badly atrophied muscles. He looked awful, but that wasn't why I was there. She grinned at Rena. I was there because he had stolen a pistol from a woman falsely claiming to be an interior agent and shot her in the back when she threatened him and Ellora. From his bed. Iing told us about that. What happened to the woman? 30 years of hard labor to be followed with execution by firing squad. Sounds too lenient. It really did. Who would want to hurt a cute guy like Stace? He was scruffy looking and unkempt, but it led to a sort of charm. A guy who wasn't trying to impress girls, sort of a farmer's son look. I don't know what has been going on out here, but it seems dangerous. It's mostly Noble House Turox shit. Rena started as she swung her head back to the interior agent, who smiled awkwardly. We're taking care of it. It's just, we worry, you know. Iing moved out here because it had supposedly gotten safer, then he is reported dead as soon as he gets to the planet. He would be dead if not for, well, Rena gestured to Stace, who was trying to deflect a lecture about skin care. Then somebody tried to kill everyone here at the observatory for some reason. It's like bad things just keep happening, and Aang is in the middle of it. We just had some recent good luck, took down a whole organization of human terrorists. This area has gotten a lot safer in the last few weeks. Denver is safe, and we can take my shuttle there for some shopping. Jelsai's smile looked confident, and Rena felt some of the nervousness leak from her. What the fuck is wrong with your bathroom? The two women turned to see that Stace was alone in the living room, leaning against a wall. Alice was yelling through the bathroom door. Is something broken? Where's your hand soap? Alice was shaking his thin hands in the air as if they were on fire. I can't wash my hands without soap. Stace wobbled his way over to the door and braced himself on the frame, looking in. It's there. That whitish block on the edge of the sink? You're kidding me. No. It's soap. Just pick it up and rub your hands on it. I know how to use soap. Alice pulled in a deep breath, then let it out in a sigh. Rena knew that sound. This was going to be hilarious. She elbowed Jelsai and grinned at her, forgetting for a moment that she was a noble and instead figuring she would enjoy a good boy fight. Well, there you go then. Stace seemed confused more than anything. It's soap, but it's not hand soap. Where is your hand soap? Goddess, where is your moisturizer? Your conditioner? Your body scrub? Your shower is empty, your cabinets don't have anything. Were you robbed? Alice looked like he was just short of a panic. If you want different soap, I think I have some degreaser in the kitchen. Stace's voice sounded so politely earnest that Rena couldn't stifle a giggle. She glanced over to see Jelsai had a hand over her mouth, trying to hide her grin. You're fucking with me. Stace shrugged. I have a bar of soap by the sink for washing my hands, another bar of soap in the shower for, shower washing. That shampoo is a 2-in-1 with the conditioner mixed in. I use it for my beard too. The bar soap gives me dandruff. Alice shuddered at the apparent horror of Stace's words. I do have degreaser in my kitchen if you need it, though. You're such a girl. A bar of soap went flying out of the door, just past Stace's head. Please don't throw my sink soap. It's the only one I have. What? The word came out in a shriek. Now you'll have to use my shower soap to wash your hands. Stace's dead calm just seemed to be winding Alice up more. I can't use that. Why not? It's clean. It's soap. Soap's always clean. But. Alice looked like he was about to start crying. Rena was just about to step forward and comfort him, but Stace finally couldn't keep stone-faced and started laughing. Bottom drawer, under the sink. Stace managed to gasp out between guffaws. Aang's stash. Oh, thank the goddess you haven't corrupted him. Alice threw the drawer open and started pulling everything out, piling it around the sink until the drawer was empty and the sink looked like a miniature version of what Rena saw on the rare occasion that she ventured into Alice's bathroom at home. Rena leaned over towards Jelsai so she could keep her voice low. Weird that Aang keeps a bunch of stuff like that here. He has his own room, right? Jelsai seemed to flinch at the words. Stace has been having a rough time adjusting to civilization. Ellora or Aang spend the night here sometimes to keep him company. He sleeps better that way. That made sense. It was clearly a lie, or at least not the whole truth, but it made sense. Rena was starting to feel like some of her suspicions might be more than just suspicions. Questing for great truths needed a more comfortable chair. She was reclining back in her too large hotel room chair with her feet up on the desk. Cables ran from her cybernetic left arm all over the room to various pieces of equipment like an external nervous system. Breathing evenly, motionless, her eyes closed, questing for great truths may have been asleep, but in truth this was her favorite way to work. Aside from the uncomfortable chair, it was going to take a while to vet the dozen or so temporary hires that would be needed to build the very cheap array. The original plan was to hire Shilvati from off-world, but Jemsai and Sammy had come up with this insane scheme that Questing for Great Truths had to help implement. When she got the assignment, she had been told that this was a high-security weapons research facility. It turned out to be a museum that needed security because everyone thought it was a weapons research facility. Progress, and actual research, couldn't happen until that public perception was fixed. Talking with Jessica about the rumors she had heard was enlightening in a sort of hilariously horrific way. Apparently people thought they were using human women to produce more Shilvati here. Interbreeding was insane on the face of it, while Questing for Great Truths definitely wouldn't mind a cute human guy trying to put some bread in her toaster. In theory, at least, it wasn't something that could actually happen in the real world. The solution was simple: just let the public see what was going on. The problem with that was that even if none of the research going on right now was dangerous and needed to be classified, future research definitely was. So now Questing for Great Truths had to come up with a way to allow human contractors to live and work here for at least a week without them leaving surveillance devices everywhere. It was going to be a tough job, but honestly Questing for Great Truths was enjoying the challenge. It was definitely more fun than what Commander REM was going to have to deal with. So, to reiterate, yes, there will be humans working here temporarily. Yes, many of them will be male. Yes, you have permission to socialize as long as it does not compromise your work. Commander REM smirked at the cheers from the pod in front of her. This was her fourth time giving this talk today, and the results had been the same every time. She raised a hand and the Marines in front of her quieted down. There will be members of the human resistance who have gotten through our security screenings. They will try to seduce you and turn you against the Shilvati Empire. My suggestion? Fuck them ragged while they are here, lie about anything they ask, report them to me, and lose their number afterwards. Picking up a human boyfriend isn't worth being executed for treason. That got their attention. Some of the mirth was gone. Lastly, remember that access to the observatory building is to be restricted while our guests are here. Dr. Painter wants to let them come up and visit for tours and, while that might end up happening at some point, any unauthorized access to the observatory building is to be met with stun blasts at minimum. Lethal force is authorized at your discretion. Any questions? Now the smiles were gone. This was a good team. REM had handpicked the entire group to ensure they would be professional and not fall into the same pitfalls the old team had. Dismissed. I would like to get a list of which of your girls seems most susceptible to human wiles. REM jerked in surprise and turned to see Scout Captain Pellick there. She had been gifted the scout team and all she really knew about them was that they weren't who they claimed to be and that she was to defer to Pellick in an emergency. It was a horrible way to run things. Your name will be first on the list.
Flight number 392 FNA 495. Craft identification, Chell XA 2248. Departure, Painter Observatory. Arrival, Denver Interstellar Airport. Crew, Tur R.I. Karoth, Pilot, E.R.U. Callist, Co-Pilot. Passengers: Eustace J. Grant, Alice L. Bruck, Rena L. Bruck, Jel S.I. Chell X.A. Identity verified. Transmitting. Message sent.
End of chapter. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss any episode and do all the other YouTube stuff. visit and support the author, and I'll see you next time. If you didn't enjoy, comment on what I can do better. And as usual, have a wonderful day.